Greetings. The day after Christmas is often one of the least favorite days of the year for countless children across this great universe, but around these parts, it's a happy day because it's the day I get to wish you a very Merry Christmas Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve.
Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Here I am, just being a bush. Yes, this is the life for. Oh! Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. 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 Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, Eve, Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve. Eve, 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 Eve.
Eve, 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 Eve. And with Christmas just around the corner, I thought it would be a good idea to start learning to play Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas in the style of Kermit the Frog. But as it turns out, this song is a Doozatron 9000. In fact, I had to write it down to make sense of it. So if you would like to follow along with this very piece of paper, I highly recommend it. You will find it on my website, ryanlendt.com, show notes, and the title, of course, is in super secret backwards code, so no miscreants can horn in on our super secret information. What is the opposite of have? Want. The opposite of merry is, of course, Joseph. Little, big, and Christmas, December 25th, is June 52nd. So you're looking for Big Joe wants a June 52nd. All right, we're going to go through this line by line. Put your capo on the 3rd fret, and the intro could be as simple as G. D. And for D, you could play D, or D with an F sharp in the bass, the better man chord. That's E2, G2, B3, completely up to you. And the second half is going to be G, C add 9, and D. But if you want to get some of that motion in the intro, strum your G chord. I even like to take my pointer finger off and just mute the A string with my middle finger there so that my pointer finger is on the ready for what it needs to do next. Strum your G chord, and then make your baby E string go 3, 2, followed by pluck the B string just how it is on the 3rd fret. Then switch around so your middle finger is on the B string 3rd fret. We're going to strum that chord. And then we're going to put our pointer finger on G2 and our ring finger on D4. This is another way to play D with an F sharp in the bass, but it's this F sharp, not this F sharp, so it is not the better man chord. And those two pieces together. But the second half of the intro has that C add 9 in it, and it pops in right where we plucked the B string 3rd fret in the first half. So do the first 3 parts of your G thing. Strum, 3, 2. And this is where we switch to C add 9. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to move my middle finger to A3 and keep my ring finger on B3, and that's it. Give it a strum, and then do the same D treatment. First line of the verse, like I said, we're going to take this line by line because some of the lines are a lot, but the first one's not so bad. Play a G chord and let it ring out. He does not switch to the E minor the first time only. Then A minor 7, which is A minor with no ring finger, but you could play regular A minor if you like. I prefer A minor 7, followed by D. And D, of course, could be D or the better man chord, or you could give it the D treatment, which I like. The second half of that first line is G, E minor 7, or regular E minor. Again, they're interchangeable, but I'm going to play E minor 7. That's just A string 2nd fret, followed by A minor 7, and however you want to do D. So, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. For the second half of the first verse, we're going to play a G, followed by E minor 7. Then on the A chord, the bass player plays a C sharp, relative to the capo, of course, which indicates that the A chord in question is an A major chord rather than an A minor chord. You could play A, or you could play A7. I like A7, but if you wanted to accentuate that C sharp in the bass, you could play A with a C sharp in the bass, which is starting on the B string, 2, 2, 2, 4 on the A string, followed by D7, and you could play regular old D7, or you could play the better man chord version of D7, which is D7 with an F sharp in the bass. That's B1 with your pointer finger, G2 with your ring finger, and E2 with your middle finger. I think I'm going to play regular old D7, but the second half of the second line of the first verse, are you with me, is B7, my favorite open chord, A2, D1, G2, E2, followed by E7, that's E with no ring finger, or you could play regular E, A minor 7, and D. So, from now on, our troubles will be out of sight. That's the only time verse 1 ever happens. All the rest of the verses in the song are verse 2, which is going to be easy because the first line we've already done. It's G, E minor 7, A minor 7, and D. Do it again. And that takes care of the first half of verse 2 and all other subsequent verses. The second half of verse 2 has a kooky bananas chord in it. It's going to be A minor 6 with an F sharp in the bass, which is just going to be A minor but with different fingers so that we have our middle finger available to grab that E string 2nd fret. Pointer finger on B1, pinky finger on G2, ring finger on D2, and middle finger on E2. So, G, E minor 7, A minor 6 with an F sharp in the bass, B7, hang out on E minor 7, and then G. But I'm going to play Tom Petty G here because there is an instrument that plays G sharp over that G chord, which is going to be the G string 1st fret. But if you don't like that, which I don't, play the D string 1st fret instead, which makes this a G augmented or a G with a sharp 5th. And the cool thing about that that when we switch to C for the next line, that D string will have gone open 1, 2, and I love that kind of chromatic lead-in thing, so listen for that change over this. that line, G, E minor 7, A minor 6 with an F sharp in the bass, B7, E minor 7, and G. The olden days part, it's a C major 7, which is C with no pointer finger, followed by one of my favorite things about life, C minor major 7, and the band as a whole does change to this chord. All that means for us is the D string is going from 2 to 1, and don't strum the open high E string when you do this either, unless you want all the cats in the neighborhood to come knocking at your door. Followed by, and this is weird, but it's what happens, it's B minor 7, which is B minor with no pinky, followed by B minor major 7, which means the bass note is dropping down to B flat, relative to capo again, of course. And when you do that, you'll just unbar and mute the G string, because if we get the wrong fret on the G string, things will get really ugly. Followed by A minor 7, D7, and G major 7, which is going to be E3 with your middle finger, B3 with your ring finger, and E2 with your pointer finger. You could just play regular G, but he does sing the your on the F sharp there, so it meshes really well with the G major 7, but here comes that whole line. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. But if you hate that B minor thing, and I don't blame you, if you're playing along with the song, you kind of have to do it because the bass definitely goes down to B flat relative to the capo, of course, and two notes happening at the same time that are just a half step apart tend to sound really bad. But if you're just playing along with your stuffed Kermit, you could just play B minor and B minor 7 there, and that will give you a nice change, so you'd be all... Faithful Friends kicks off with an E minor 6, which is not as daunting as it sounds. It's just A4 and D2, strum everything, followed by F sharp, our bar chord, 2, 4, 4, 3, and B minor. D, A7, D. And you can turn that into a D7 as you move back into the next part, which is of course G, and D7 always sounds great going back into G, but here we go. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. The next time something's different is at 1:45 when he says, and have yourself a merry little Christmas. Now, it's C major 7, and we want to walk down with a B. I like E minor 7 with a B in the bass, so mute your big E string to accentuate that B note there, then A minor 7, and you could play D7, but I kind of like the definitive niceness of regular D as we move back into the intro. So, C major 7, E minor 7 with a B in the bass, A minor 7, D of your choice, back into the intro. But we're going to do the solo in another key, so we got to find a way to get there, and this intro does it just like normal the first time. The second time, followed by E. E is A's fifth. E's most important job in life is to want to go to A, and that's where we're going for the solo. And A, of course, is one whole step higher than G, so the chord progression for the solo is the same as the chord progression for the verses, but it's one whole step higher. So A, F sharp minor 7, which is going to be 2, 4, B minor 7, and E. Do it again. A, F sharp minor 7, B minor 7, E. Followed by A, F sharp minor 7, B minor 6 with a G sharp in the bass. It's the same as A minor 6 with an F sharp in the bass, but 2 frets higher, or you could play regular B minor if you like. Followed by C sharp 7, which I'm going to play as our C7 shape. That's C plus a pinky on the G string 3rd fret, and everything 1 fret higher to make it C sharp 7. Just make sure to mute both E string, and this will work great. And then F sharp minor 7, hang out there for a minute, and D or D7, followed by G. So, dang it. I had to leave that in there. just realized that when you're on that B minor 6 with a G sharp in the bass, your pinky finger is already on the right string and fret to play our C sharp 7. And then when we're on the C sharp 7, your ring finger is already on the right string and fret to play F sharp minor 7. So you've got like a hopscotch thing going on there. But here we go. Pinky finger stays, ring finger stays. For the very last and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas Now home stretch, you could treat it the way we have been, which is C major 7, E minor 7 with a B in the bass, but I don't know, it's the end of a Kermit song and I like to do everything as satisfying as possible, so rather than E minor 7 with a B in the bass, let's play a G chord there, which has the B note we need, C major 7, and have your G, which voice to use. And then on the A minor 7, you can do this if you want. Leave the B string open so we just have D2 and strum to the B string, so that's what we hear the most of. And then G2, G open, D4. D chord of your choice, and intro. Merry Christmas, everybody. And those are all the pieces. Thank you so much for being here for this one. I hope that was fun and helpful. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you next time with more stuff. Goodbye. Eve, Eve, Eve.